Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Talking City live co-commentary for the Melbourne City Grand Final of the W League against Sydney FC today, the 21st of March. It is currently 3:17 in the afternoon. We are about 15 minutes away from kickoff, and boy, oh boy, do we have a match for you today. My name's Lachlan White. Coming later on in the stream will be Matt McIndoe, just having some audio issues on his end. However, he will be on the stream very, very shortly. So while we're in the process of getting that loaded, let's have a bit of a quick chat about what's going to be happening today and what our team is looking like. About half an hour or so ago, Melbourne City announced the lineup for this coming match, and it's a very familiar lineup for those of us who've been watching the women's team over the last 3 or 4 months. Starting up front, Kaya Simon with Claire Emsley. Millie Mijatovic again resignated to her position on the bench. Emily Van Egmond taking up the role as the number 10. Yukari Kinga and Ivy Luke playing the two central midfield roles. Kinga you would expect to be the more advanced of the two options, with Luick screening in front of the defence. And wide left, wide right, the world-class combination of Stephanie Catley and Ellie Carpenter. We have 3 centre-backs today: Lauren Barnes, Emma Checker, and Rebecca Stott. Stotty is one of the 2 players, along with Stephanie Catley, who's been there for every single year of Melbourne City's existence in the W League. So hopefully for her, a 4th trophy to add to her cabinet. You can certainly see since she came back at the start of the season what a difference that's made in the way that we've set up, the way that we've performed, and the kind of results that we've been getting. So excellent to have her back, excellent to have her in the lineup, and of course the perennially excellent Lydia Williams, who you may know from Talking City's Roaming Lydia earlier in the season, taking her place as our centre-back. Substitutions bench: Melissa Barbieri, or Melissa Hudson as she's now known with her married name, Riley Dobson, TJ Vlanish, and Millie Mijatovic, as well as Ali Watt, the American signing in the January transfer window, taking up the 5th and final place on our bench. It's a very strong lineup from Melbourne City FC. There's options not only on the pitch, but options off the pitch as well. So it'll be very exciting to see how it comes together in the end, and whether or not we can get on the scoreboard early, because I think that's probably going to be the key thing with this game. Not just scoring at some stage, but scoring early, making Sydney have to open up, giving us more space to play in, and fingers crossed, getting our 4th championship. When we have a look at the lineup of Sydney FC, probably the 2 biggest talking points of Sydney over the last couple of months has been the transfer of Caitlin Ford and one of their other players to the Premier League in England, the Women's Premier League. So they're starting with Audrey Bledsoe as their goalkeeper. Alana Kennedy really is their biggest name as one of their centre-backs next to Ellie Brush. Agnew and Green are their 2 wing-backs playing in a 4-3-3 formation. Teresa Polias as captain, the ex-Western Sydney Wanderers midfielder, taking up her position at the base of the midfield inverted triangle. Ray and Tobin playing as the 8 and 10 respectively. Veronica Latsko, goal scorer from their semi-final against Melbourne Victory, playing on the left wing. Remy Semenson as their centre forward, and Sofia Huerta playing on the right wing. So a very strong formation from Sydney FC, however, not one that I wouldn't expect Melbourne City to be able to do something about. Apologies for the pause in conversation. We are just simply trying to get Matt McIndoe into the stream today, so you won't have to put up with listening to my voice for the entirety of the football game. So for those of you watching at home, there are 4 places that you could potentially watch this game. ABC, either on the television or on iView. Fox Sports, if you have access to Foxtel, it's on channel 505, KO, and the MyFootball Live app. If any of you were following our stream from last night, you will know that there is approximately a 5 to 10 second delay. That's just simply the nature of live streaming these things. So if you're watching on KO MyFootball Live or anything and you do want to get our commentary in line with the actual game itself, which I can't imagine many of you particularly would, look at putting on about a 5 to 10 second delay, and that should give you an accurate, up-to-date guide for where the match is at and what we're talking about. We will certainly try to be doing less play-by-play commentary because we're aware that can be a little bit disorientating for some people. We'll certainly be doing a lot of discussion about the side, discussion about the season, discussion about the players. We'll try to keep discussion about coronavirus as far away as possible from this. However, it is obviously in the back of everyone's mind, and at this time we hope all of you stay as safe as you possibly can. So, in the comments section, please feel free to get your comments in throughout the stream in terms of what you're thinking, how we're performing. If you've got any questions for us, please feel free to let us know. We're very keen to hear your thoughts as well. If you've got any questions, say something in the chat. We will respond as soon as we possibly can. We'll try to keep up to date with what is happening in that side of things as well. We are now about 6 minutes away from kickoff. Still, unfortunately, having some technical issues with getting Matt McIndoe onto the stream, but certainly we'll be hoping to bring some insight from Mr. McIndoe himself as time goes on. According to the MyFootball Live app, there are 5 minutes until the game is about to be shown. We are currently seeing highlights of Melbourne City's 5-1 win over the W League side.
Hello, can you hear me now?
And I think we've got him, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream, Matt McIndoe.
G'day guys, looking forward to another huge game with, a potential 4th trophy on the line, which is something the girls deserve after the season they've put through. So, wow, what a day, and it's interesting that we're the only one doing a pre-game show. There's no pre-game show on Fox Sports apparently. We're just watching a replay of our game against Western Sydney, which is very interesting.
Correct. We are in the 92nd minute just now of the game against Western Sydney. I mean, I could give you a live play-by-play call of what's happening there, but Riley Dobson in the corner, passing it off to Steph Catley, off to Ivy Lewick, and just generally domination. So we've had a bit of a chat about the lineup. It's as an expected lineup, Matt McIndoe. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, it's definitely the strongest lineup that we've got, and strongest lineup in the league, in my opinion. So it's going to be a tough day for Sydney, you would hope, from being a City fan point of view. But look, last time we played them, it was a very tight game, only a 2-1 victory with Millie Ardic having to pop up with that thunderbolt of a volley to secure the points. You know, they do have some quality. I did hear talking about Kennedy, who is definitely one of the superstars of this league, and our Matilda side. So it's going to be a big game, and, you know, Sydney have got the same amount of clean sheets as us, so they do have some defensive prowess to hopefully keep up with, or what they would be hopefully keeping up with the City attack. But for me, I hope we score early and score many.
I mean, I guess we could do scores and scorers if you were wanting to do that leading into this game. It's more of a question, I think, of how much in terms of whether we win. I think quality-wise, we've certainly got Sydney covered.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think our squad is comfortably the most well put together squad in the league, and it's something that, you know, that comes with when a club's willing to put as much investment as we are into it, that you're always going to get the rewards in terms of getting the best players available. So people aren't happy to hear that when you talk about how we control majority of the Matilda squad and have such talent available to us, but when you're the only club willing to put the money in, you're going to get that reward.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we've spoken about it on the podcast ad infinitum now, but it's not so much that we're, buying the league. We are simply spending the salary cap at the level of the salary cap. We are not paying any more or any less. We're not paying for, additional marquee funds that, other teams don't have access to. We are simply spending to the top of the cap, and that is it. Whereas other teams previously have been spending under the cap a fair way. They're developing a lot of youth players. I think that's probably a reflection on how seriously we take this league compared to a lot of the other sides.
I tend to agree. It's definitely something that you can see CFG and Melbourne have put a lot of time and money into, and it's something that they want to be the best at. So I think we're going to see the rewards as we see the game against Western Sydney, the semi-final, wrapped up on Fox Sports. So you would assume we'd be heading straight to Amy Park now to be able to get some build-up for this game.
Completely agree. And I think probably we can talk about it in the post-match commentary later on, but we've talked a couple of times about the fact that this is maybe the end of an era for some of our City Matildas, players like Steph Catley, who's been such a stalwart and a great servant to the club over the 5 years that she's been here. It sounds like she might be heading over to play for Arsenal in England following on from this season. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds in terms of professional football in the remainder of the year, but it certainly sounds like that's something that's on the cards for a couple of our Matildas as well.
Yeah, and we did discuss it with a few of them, the need for a bit more of a regulated season with scheduled breaks, because playing 2 seasons a year is not sustainable. So we will see a lot more head over to Europe as that comp continues to become more professional and grow. And look, it's not great for the W League, but it's a necessary evil in my opinion. I'm more than happy to see the girls get the break they deserve, and hopefully watch our Matildas become not only Olympic champions but World Cup champions. And
I think above and beyond that as well, is it opens up the doors and some opportunities for some of our younger players to come through who may not have had the chances that you would have hoped so. Nia Stamatopoulos, Sophia Sakalis, Chelsea Blissett all have had intermittent chances of getting into the first 11, but when you're up against a world-class side like we've got, it's very difficult to find their way in. So hopefully this allows those young girls to get more opportunities to, get on the ball and have a couple of games.
Yeah, correct. And we do see Chelsea and Nia drop out of the squad again for this final, and unfortunately they won't be involved in this game, but we see now that the girls are starting to walk out. Stop me if I'm ahead of you, by the way. Let's make sure we get this roughly lined up. So I'm watching via Foxtel.
I'm on the...
Foxtel doesn't give me the ABC option.
I'm on the MyFootball Live app, but I might just jump forward into KO Sports and see if I can catch up with you a little bit there.
Yeah, just let me know, because we've got the girls out on the stadium. Again, a bit weird of a situation to be in with an empty stadium, which is annoying and unfortunate, but it's a necessary evil with the state of the world at the moment, and something that we're going to have to get used to for any sport to continue.
Completely agree. And I mean, as we've mentioned a couple of times, we don't know how long this is going to last for. We don't know how many more months, years this may take. I would expect probably at least half a year or so, but we'll keep an eye on things, and we'll keep up to date with you guys, and let you know as early as possible when things are changing. And we'll certainly stay on to Talking City on all of our social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You'll see some of them pop up during the stream as much as possible. Keep logged on to all of those if you can to get the most up-to-date information about your Melbourne City. As we see the Melbourne City lineup announced, Lydia Williams in goalkeeper, Stottchecker and Barnes, our perennial centre-backs, Carpenter and Catley playing wide in the left and right wing-back roles, Ivy Luke and Yukari Kinga as our centre defensive midfielder and our 8, with Emily Van Egmond playing as a number 10, and Kaya Simon and Claire Emsley as our 2 centre forwards, playing in a almost traditional for us now 3-5-2 formation.
Apologies for that, it dropped out. I'm back though.
That's all right. And as I mentioned previously on the bench, Melissa Hudson Nee Barbieri as our reserve goalkeeper, one of the ex-Matildas previously, up until Lydia Williams took over, the most capped Matilda in the goalkeeping position. Ali Watt, Millie Mijatovic, who some might say is a little bit harsh to be missing out on that starting 11 position. TJ Vlanic and Riley Dobson.
It's a good squad, isn't it, when you look at that?
When we talk about depth, it would be very nice if our men's side had a similar level of depth to our women's, but I mean, the fact that you can bring players like Ali Watt off the bench with explosive pace, Millie Mijatovic with just the ability to score from almost anywhere in the front third, it's something that I'm sure any other team would be envious of. Sydney FC, as mentioned, Audrey Bledsoe is a veteran in the league, excellent quality keeper. Alana Kennedy is really their main player, marquee player, if you will. Ellie Brush partnering her in defence. Teresa Polias, their captain, playing in the screening role in front of the defence. And Sofia Huerta, Veronica Latsko as the two wingers for them. So they do have firepower on their day, but we have equally, if not more, firepower than them. So looking at Amy Park with 0 fans in the stadium, it is a very unusual image to be looking at, but this is the lay of the land. Kickoff about to happen. Remy Simonson standing over the ball, just awaiting for the referee. And just to sync us all up, the ball is kicked right now. So, Sydney FC kicking us off.
Tell me when you get the clock.
I've got Emily Van Egmond playing the ball back to Steph Catney, but unfortunately too wide. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Perfect. Okay, so we will try to endeavour to continue to update that clock as the game goes on, as that was a comment from last night that would have made it a bit easier, so we'll definitely keep trying to do that going on for you guys today.
And as I mentioned earlier, please feel free to get your comments in on YouTube chat, on the Twitter accounts, or also on Twitch. We'll be running a multi-streaming service, so we're happy to listen to your comments on any of those services, but please send them through. We will endeavour to respond to all of them throughout the game as much as we can. So Sydney FC with a free kick in their left back position, playing it to their keeper, who bounces the ball straight back. Playing the ball long to their left wing position, keeping the ball in. Scotty getting skinned, and a shot that has gone well over the bar. It's a goal kick to Melbourne City. So how do you think Sydney's going to play this one out? Do you think they're going to be pressing high and early to try to get an early goal from us? You can see in their attacking position setting up with 5 players really around the edge of the box. It is looking like a very attacking performance from them, which is going to open up a lot of opportunities for us on either the counter-attack or just simply playing balls through.
Yeah, correct. They are definitely going to have to play a very attacking game and try and get on the board early to make this a contest. You feel that once City get that first goal, the horse could bolt and we could see 3 or 4 potentially get on the board, as we see Williams pumping it forward to Emily Van Egmond, who already you can see there is two Sydney players sitting close to her and trying to starve her of space and time. It's going to be a big challenge for her to get on the ball a bit more than she was last week because of how well Western Sydney did marshal her.
Having said that, when Emily did get on the ball there, she was leagues above the quality of the Western Sydney players. So despite not having as much ball and as much attacking opportunity as she's previously had, she did still show her class with a couple of excellent through balls. She just didn't end up on the score sheet or on the assist sheet. So this is probably going to be some part of her game for the next couple of years. You know, she's going to be a marked player. We know that she's got excellent quality. We know that, you know, she's got the capacity to open up defences. We saw it a few times with Aaron Moy when he was playing for us in our men's side, where he would turn around to JVS and complain that he was having 2 players on him, and JVS basically turned around and said, well, this is your life now, and just deal with it. And that's, I think, part of
that's
what's...
the mark of respect for such a high player. You've just got to be ready to be double-teamed. As we see Catley turning the ball over, Sydney looking to get on the front foot, but the girls get back too quickly and set up a nice defensive press. Sorry, go on, Lockie.
No, that was pretty much the summary of what I was going to say. Emily Van Egmond putting an excellent amount of defensive work in, causing a turnover. Played back to Lulu Barnes, who bounces the ball off Lydia to start again.
And it's something that we're seeing a bit more this season. Lydia is calm on the ball still and looking to play positive football. As we see a wonderful through ball there.
Excellent ball.
Kaya Simon on the ball now. She looks to play in Emsley, who's quick, but not quick enough for that through ball. A little bit too heavy. That's going to be a key matchup today. Kaya and Ellie getting down each wing and putting in the performance they did last week, because they were unstoppable against Western Sydney, and hopefully we see more of the same.
Similar to what we were talking about with Emily Van Egmond having pretty much no time last week, it was very unusual to see Ellie Carpenter, who is, as we've mentioned previously, maybe one of the best right backs in women's world football, being given an entire acre of space in behind. And that's how she ended up getting, I think, 1 or 2 assists, a lot of chances on goal. There was a shot that came off the crossbar, so very unusual. Lydia Williams having to come a long way out of her box now. Well defended from the front by Sydney there, but maybe a little bit of a lack of communication there, unusual in a stadium with no fans.
Yeah, and I think there'll be a bit of nerves out there for the girls. They know there is a lot of history on the line with hopefully a 4th title for the club and trying to give back for the club that's given so much. But the team that settles first in grand finals generally goes on to win it. It's not always about who's the better side. It's about who rises to the occasion better. A little bit different when you're playing behind closed doors because you don't have as much of an atmosphere as we see Emily Van Egmond throw her Sydney defender to the ground there. She's now bounced forward and taken possession, is looking to play positive football, but the ball gets stuck at the halfway line. Now we see Stott playing it forward. The intended target was Van Egmond, who has it intercepted, and now Sydney are trying to play a counter, but it goes out with the checker to come over and take it.
Yeah, and it is... it's an interesting thing. We've seen it in a couple of different sports over the weekend, not just the A-League match from the last night, but also the AFL matches being played in empty stadiums. Seems like it's going to be the norm for the next couple of months, and it's a unnerving and an unusual thing, but you do get the capacity to hear a lot of what the players are saying. You get to hear some things that are coming off the bench from the coaches. You get to hear a little bit more decision-making by the referees when they have a bit of a chat. It's unusual, however, I guess this is going to be what's normal for now, as that ball managed to stay in play. Emily Van Egmond skinning, playing an excellent ball through to Claire Emsley on the left wing. No one's come forward, and unfortunately she's been called offside. From first glance, that looked like she was just staying onside there, but linesman probably had a better view of it than we did, and no VAR in the W League, thank God, so we don't have to wait until she's gone 6 years forward in the play before getting a call.
Yeah, and we say that. It's been a big year for the W League, and again for a City side that is trying to cap it off with an undefeated season. I was looking at some stats in the pre-game just to have some filler for when we needed it, but it just feels appropriate to bring up how good this side has been. We'll come back to that though, because Sydney is on the attack. Checker 1-on-1. Checker's been beaten with a shot straight at Lydia, who controls it and settles to play back down.
Absolutely, so no risk there of a goal.
Sydney has had nearly 2,000 more passes than any other team, and Sydney is second place. They've had 2,000 less passes this season. I think that is just one of those stats that you look at, and it's almost unbelievable to think how well this team has played and how much control they've had over every single game.
Well,
to put up that many passes is crazy in the first place, but to be that far ahead of the league, it's an awesome effort from the girls.
Absolutely. And I think it pretty much just goes to show the kind of football that we're trying to play. Our women have probably been better proponents of it than our men at times, because of the fact that we have such insane quality players compared to the rest of the league. But that capacity to play possession football, to play attacking football, pushing high, defending from the front, creativity. There's a lot of things that you could say about how good our players are compared to really any team in the world. But, at the end of the day, in this match in particular, what's past doesn't really matter. It's about making the right performance on the day, as we see Kai Simon with an excellent ball, playing it wide. Ellie Carpenter get involved in the play, skinning one player, almost being able to play Kai Simon through, just going out for a throw-in.
So another player that was critical last week was Kai Simon, who you've just mentioned. She did score a brace, so hopefully we can see some more from her with some more goals. She's certainly found her goal scoring boots since halfway through this year, as we see Sydney start to look to play a counter attack, but they've played it out wide, and that should run out for a goal kick unless Lauren decides to keep it in.
Well, it looks like it's slowed down quite
stopped,
dramatically.
Yeah, so Lauren's kept it in, very smart. She was smarter than I am by a long way. She plays the ball out to Van Egmond, who's now playing back to Catley and just getting some more control over the ball. And Barnes has played a risky pass and almost lost control, but the ball came back to her, and we see Kinga muscled off the ball. Probably fair. And now we see Sydney trying to step forward and attack, and
Emily Van Egmond takes over, wins a free. Bit of a soft one.
Yeah, if you're not going to give Kinga for being pushed over, I don't know if you can give that, but we're not referees. Well, not as good referees as this one, so that's something to keep in mind. So it's going to be one of those games where Sydney's going to try and take advantage of any foul that they can draw, because it is a free chance to have a swing, and City has to be smart enough to not give away many, if any, and try and control the play.
City playing with a very high line from this defensive free kick. Lydia standing just on the edge of the 6-yard box. Sydney whipping it in. First header out.
Checker's gone early, and she got back and was able to sweep up the danger. Now it's a very contested box and a shot from distance from Sydney, not really troubling anyone.
And I guess that's one of the key things that we're going to have to keep an eye out for this game, is our capacity to defend from set plays, because I would expect that's a lot of where Sydney's going to be looking at taking their chances. We know from when Alana Kennedy played for us, she is an excellent free kick taker at direct free kicks, so we want to limit the number of free kicks that we give away on the edge of the box. But I think probably it's one of those things where we just need to play our game to the utmost capacity, as we see Steph Catley play Emily Van Egmond in through to the left wing, one-on-one with Alana Kennedy. Alana just muscles her off the ball.
But here's the danger now for Sydney with them being pressed high up the field. Barnes has come up and she's ended up winning that ball. That should be a foul. She's been kicked while trying to get control of the ball, but the referee has let it go. So the ball is still in our attacking half, and the girls are now going to look to press it in. As you can see here on this camera angle, there's already, 5 players around this throw-in, and straight away Catley wins it back and plays it into Van Egmond, who plays it to Kinga, who has an air swing. Now we see Lulick on the ball passing out wide to Stott, who plays in an early cross, but Emsley didn't read it and didn't get ahead of her defender quick enough. So Sydney now have the chance to take control of the ball and settle it down. As you can see, Kennedy marshalling the troops to just get some time on the ball, take some possession and calm it down again.
And just as a reminder to anyone listening, you can get involved in the chat as well on our YouTube, Twitch or Twitter stream. Twitter will be via the Periscope app. As I'll stop for a second just to see Kaya Simon break away. Ball played through to Ivy Lewick. On the edge of the box is Ellie Carpenter, but Sydney managed to clear only as far as Rebecca Stott. He gets to the edge of the box, plays it wide to Emily Van Egmond with a cross in, but it sails harmlessly over the crossbar for a goal kick. Again, as I was saying, get involved with the chat. We have on the Twitch stream, on the YouTube stream, and also on our Twitter account, on the Periscope app. You are able to get involved with the Talking City live stream chat. Please feel free to ask us any questions. We'll be doing our best to answer everyone that asks them, so get involved ASAP. Get amongst it as Sydney have a goal kick.
So we see here now the girls trying to get control back straight away from the kick, with Lulick winning the first ball and passing it down to Van Egmond. Van Egmond's passed it out wide to Stott, who just slows it down and takes control back to Checker, and then back to Williams, who will look at Barnes, or even potentially Catley if she can get it out quick enough. Catley's still on out wide, and that's where she's played it out to that side, but inboard to Van Egmond, who's passed passed it back to Kingo, who got it through to Catley, who's now running towards the edge of the box. This is prime area to have a shot. We see Simon on the edge of the box, but Sydney have done well to get back. Van Egmont's trying to create something here. She's very offside there, Kingo, very excited to get her chance. And Emsley, who is filling in at the left-back role, takes that first challenge and ends up forcing a turnover with Barnes receiving the ball just shy of halfway.
I mean, I think that's one of those key parts of how we play. It's not just about that first opportunity coming into have a shot on goal, get the possession away, but it's keeping the pressure on throughout the game and then ensuring that we've got the capacity to get more people. Now, this is very interesting showing up on the screen at the moment. You would presume that these are families and friends of the Melbourne City and the Sydney FC women's team. Otherwise, someone's been invited to a game that we've not been invited to, and that is...
that would be family and friends, as they did announce during the week that family and friends would be able to attend, because really there's not as many support staff required for a game of football, so they've been able to get some family and friends into the stadium and essential media. We see Catley here on the edge of the box, one-on-one with her defender, gets the cross in, but it's taken a deflection, and that should be a corner, I think. Or is the ball not quite rolled out? No, it's maintained, stayed in, and now we'll have a City throw just shy of halfway.
Steph Catley again picking up the ball on the edge of the box, getting in behind. Cross in. Oh, it's a goal! Steph Catley with a goal, putting it in the back of the net. You think that will go down as an own goal, but far out, 1-0, Melbourne City, 15 minutes in. It is a goal. We have a goal in this grand final. Stephanie Catley, excellent work. You've got to say credit to Emily Van Egmont as well for that 1-2 pass in behind. This will go down as a goalkeeping error because that, to me, is probably an own goal, but Stephanie Catley... what a fantastic strike.
Yeah, and well deserved. She's one of those players that doesn't quite get the plaudit she deserves at times for her attacking prowess, and that'll probably go down as her own goal. It was on target when it's hit the keeper, and that's the best way to settle the nerves at the start of the game.
So, 1-0 to Melbourne City over Sydney FC in this W League Grand Final as we see Rado Vidicic coughing up a lung. We certainly hope that he is okay. And just remember that you can get involved in the chat. Go onto our YouTube channel. It's streaming live on there. Our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/TalkingCityFC, or follow us on our Twitter account, which is being shown on Periscope. Please get involved in the chat.
Yeah, and if you are trying to watch via anything and Twitch is playing up, please do let us know. We have got a note here saying that it's not showing the whole thing. From my end, it looks to be working, but if it's not working for you, please do let us know. So obviously, if you've gone onto a different stream, and then you can comment for us. What a goal, and what a way to settle the nerves 15 minutes into this game. So we're now at 16:50. Just to check the sync on those game clocks as we see the girls looking to press forward again. Emsley's not one to give up on that ball, and she follows it all the way. And it's just gone out for a goal kick. Kennedy defended it well.
Wow, I mean, didn't that just get the heart racing? 1-0, excellent work by Steph Catley. It's very, very, very exciting to be 1-0 up already. I'm glad we don't have to wait until the 30th, 40th, 50th minute or even longer to be able to get a lead in this game. So now it's just a matter of us, consistently pressing, getting more and more goals. We saw it against Western Sydney. We scored reasonably early in that one. Whew. Heart's racing now.
Yeah, and it definitely will help settle the nerves of the players, and it's always better to score early and score first in such a crucial match. We see here the girls now settling on possession with Barnes playing it ahead of herself too far, but very lucky to have an offside flag go up, but Williams just casually stops it anyway.
Just
from a shot from about a metre away from her.
Absolutely no care in the world there by Lydia Williams as she plays the ball out, passing it off to Lulu, who will take the offside. So just a reminder, you can get involved with Talking City throughout the season, both this season and next, by joining us on our Facebook page, which is at Talking City FC, or our Twitter account, which is at Talking City FC as well. We have a Twitch account now, again, at Talking City FC. YouTube, which is at Talking City FC, and you can listen to us live on SEN every Tuesday from 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. on the Talking City Hour, as we see Ellie Carpenter stream forward, play a ball in. Unfortunately, no one on the end of it.
So we see here Sydney now trying to bounce it out. They've played the early long throw, but due to the pressure of City, they've had to be forced all the way back again. You see Ellie working hard down that right wing to try and force a turnover and get something in. And there we go. There's the fruit of her labour. We've now turned it over at halfway with Van Egmond on the ball as she plays it back to Checker now, who's going to take some stock and play it back to Williams now to assess our options and make sure we take the right step forward.
And I guess it's one of those things that we've seen a lot throughout the season is that when the ball's turned over, we put a lot of pressure on players straight away. And it's just a couple of very tight passes in space that we see. We're able to get the ball out and get control of the game again. As we see the ball bounce back to Lydia, wide left to Steph Catley. Maybe a little bit of a handball there, missed by the referee, or maybe it's just given away. Yukari Kinga in a bit of a challenge with Sydney's right back, who wins a throw-in the end.
So we see here on our screen Ellie Carpenter, what a talent she is and what a season she's had, and it just shows why she's going to be, if not already, is one of the best backs in the league and the world. You know, she's got such a bright future ahead of her, being so young and so much to achieve. If the Olympics do go ahead, you would think that with her on our side, the Matildas are confident that they can go in and get a medal. We see now Van Egmond on the ball looking to set up another attack. Had to play it back to Stott, who hits Barnes, who's looking a bit more adventurous. She's coming forward. The early pass is to Catley, who's managed to stay onside. She whips in the early cross, but he's over the head of everyone, with Simon now chasing it out to the sideline. And unfortunately, the sideline beats the players.
And I guess that's a pretty good point. When you talk about the capacity for our players to go and play in the Japan Olympics, you know, obviously at the moment it's unclear whether it's going to go ahead. All the advice is yes, it probably will be, assuming that things settle down by that stage. So many of our players strongly look like they're not just in line to make the squad, but to make the starting 11. I mean, Lydia Williams, starting goalkeeper. Steph Catley, starting left back. Ellie Carpenter, starting right back. You would make a very strong argument to say that Emma Checker should be in that squad. She's had a fantastic season, not just this year, but last year when she was with Adelaide United. She was probably one of the standout centre-backs in the competition. She is still very young. She's only 23 years old, so she's got a lot of time ahead of her, but you would argue that her season versus someone like Claire Polkinghorne, who would normally be getting the nod as one of the centre-backs, or Laura Alloway, again, who's had a reasonably inconsistent season with injury, you'd probably say that Emma's had a very consistent season, playing to an excellent level. So hopefully we'd see her starting to make a couple more Matilda squads in the near future.
You'd have to say she should be ahead of Jenna McCormack in the pecking order based on her play for City, and just in general. Emma is a fantastic talent and should be getting more recognition than what she does get, and I think if she has a good game here in the grand final, it could go a long way to getting her a position in the squad, because there's all eyes on this game, and worldwide this is one of the games of football people will be able to watch, and it's one of the only ones going on. So hopefully we get a good viewership and the girls get to at least have the viewers they deserve if they can't have the crowd they deserve.
Absolutely. Obviously, no disrespect to the Estonian Premier League, but you would argue that the quality of our women's team is probably better than most Estonian teams.
You'd hope so. With the amount of talent on display here, I'd back our girls to win against a lot of people. See here Kinga with the early interception and playing it out to Van Egmond, who plays it to the left with Catley running forward. Acres of space with only Kennedy to beat now. Kennedy comes up trumps and forces the corner, but Catley's gone down there after getting side by side with Kennedy. That's an interesting shout. She's saying her shirt was pulled, but didn't look like enough of a shirt pull to justify her going down that easy. But this replay will be very interesting. she's not wrong. Her shirt was definitely pulled.
It's one of those very interesting things that we always hear commentators try to qualify or quantify how much of a foul in the box is enough for a penalty. I mean, letter of the law, a foul is a foul is a foul. Whether it's in the box, whether it's in the middle of the park, whether it's in defence, the location on the field shouldn't make a difference. We know that it does. We know referees are more hesitant to give a penalty because of the grave differences that it can make to a game. But, I mean, pure argument's sake alone there, she's got a hand on her shirt. She's pulled her out of the way. The ball was long gone, but anywhere else, that's a foul.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It definitely can and in theory should be given. And I think this comes back to where we heard Teo on Fox Sports last week talking about how he was saying the Western Sydney player should have gone to ground. I can't think of the girl's name off the top of my head. She was saying she should have gone to ground and we'd be hoping that it would be given as a penalty because there was contact, mainly because it's a David versus Goliath story. And, if she goes to ground and gets the foul, then they get the penalty, which will help them against the big club that is City. And to me, that's not how the game should be played. If it's a foul, it's a foul. Give it. It doesn't matter if it's us versus the worst team in the league or us versus the best team in the league. It should just be, if it's a foul, you give it. If you don't think it's a foul, it's play on, and any diving should be strongly discouraged, in my opinion.
It's something that I've been sort of wondering about how you would best be able to remove diving from a football game. And it's not even just so much the diving, but the faking of injuries that we see, not so much in the W League. It's probably one of the most honest leagues on the planet in terms of players not going to ground for no particular reason at all, not diving, not staying down unnecessarily. So the thing that I kind of think would be worthwhile as we just break away momentarily.
Yeah, I was going to say that looked like if Lillard got control of the ball, we were on there. Sorry, go on.
That's okay, as the ball's turned over in the midfield. The thing that I think should be done is injuries or people that go down for injuries that aren't real ones. Instead of saying, oh, that's excellent gamesmanship, oh, that's, just an idea of, how to play the game, etc. We should basically be saying, well, no, if someone goes down for an injury, we should basically make it that in the next 2 minutes, they are off the park for a full medical assessment, and it's going to completely stop people going down for unnecessary injuries. People who are injured will still get the appropriate care and treatment, but we'll get rid of a lot of diving, it'll get rid of a lot of faking, it'll get rid of people using time-wasting tactics. As we see Emily Van Egmond onto the end of the box with a shot. Audrey Bledsoe covers that just at the far post. Maybe didn't get a good contact with it as she would have liked, as they've now played out onto the left wing.
Can't say I agree with that. I, as much as I don't like diving and I don't like it being used in a negative way, I'm not a fan of players being forced to stay off the pitch if they've gone to ground. And maybe if a physio has to come out and has to look to them, then maybe that's where it comes down to it. But then if a player is injured due to the fault of another tackle, is it really fair for that team to then go down to 10 players whilst that person is getting their assessment? I think it's a good idea in theory, but I just think football has too many variables to be able to do it successfully.
I guess I do definitely take your point on that. I guess the counterpoint to that is, since the rule came in that any head injury, the game has to stop. Since that's occurred, I've seen a lot of, and I'm doing very strong quotation fingers here, head injuries, where teams would have a potential for a counter-attack and then someone goes down with the ball, maybe touching them on the chest or on their shoulder, or they land in a really weird way and they hold their head to force the game to be stopped. As we'll break away momentarily as Steph Catley plays the ball into Claire Emsley. I don't understand how that is offside. There is no chance in hell that was offside.
Yeah, she definitely looked on with the right back Sydney's left back playing her onside. It'd be interesting to get a replay there, but I'd say they probably don't have enough cameras at the ground to give us a decent replay anyway. As we see Williams now playing it back out to to Carpenter, who takes under control and plays back to stop. Yeah. And just a reminder to anyone, if you're listening, you can encourage your friends to listen as well. You have a choice between listening to Natasha Dowie and Archie Thompson as your commentators, or the lovely crew from Talking City FC. And, if I wasn't on the stream right now, I know who I'd be preferring to listen to. Yeah, when I saw Archie Thompson on the commentator list, I'm quite glad we did this so that one, I don't have to listen to him, and hopefully we can save a few others from losing brain cells. Australia's most famous anti-vaxxer, I would say, is Archie Thompson. Maybe Mundine is slightly ahead of him, but I think the combined IQ shows why vaccines can be quite useful at times. We look forward here, Catley with possession on the ball, playing it back to Barnes, and the girls are just so calm under pressure until that final pass, which was wayward. But the way they're playing out from the back, it's calm, it's composed, and Sydney are going to get very tired very quick trying to press as hard as they are.
Completely agree. I mean, the concept of anti-vaxxers is laughable at the best of times, but I have certainly noticed that in the current era, anti-vaxxing has not so much been a very loud part of the media in recent weeks. So hopefully that continues and people realise the benefits of vaccines, because we've gone from having a lot of preventable diseases that are now starting to come back into the fore from years gone past where we essentially had almost no cases of measles. So hopefully logic and intelligence and actual evidence is something that comes on after how much insight there is into that in the coronavirus era, as we see a ball whipped over to Ellie Carpenter, who's unable to control it.
Just to touch on that, obviously with coronavirus and people not being able to attend, and if they are there, they all should be 1.5 meters, or is it 2 meters apart? How funny is the bench? Did you just catch that at the bottom of your screen when we were taking that throw in? The old Bunnings chairs are back and they're all spread out the 1.5 meters that they have to be.
I think the Bunnings chair era was probably one of the best eras of the A-League. Particularly, I mean, some of the things that came from it, that Muscat-Cosmina confrontation springs to mind as potentially the highest of the highlights from that period of time. But yeah, it's an excellent thing to see them back, if only for maybe one game, but
certainly worthwhile.
Getting a comment from the background, which is talking vaccinations from Josh Gribbling. Josh, you would know from the talkingcity.online website, with some excellent commentary. And if you haven't read any of his articles yet, I certainly strongly would suggest you get on and do it.
As we see now, the girls are starting to get time on the ball again. Sydney are pressing hard, but not able to successfully intercept it inside that attacking third, which is where they really want to turn it over early. You see, really, they're getting it at halfway when we're trying to bounce off Emsley and continue the move.
And again, it's just a measure of a lot of the game that we played this season, which is just the capacity for us to get into tight pockets of space and have our players turn the ball and then play across from one side of the pitch to the other. Oh, the ball is played in behind. Oh, Claire Emsley absolutely should have put that one away. Emily Van Egmond with a follow-up shot. Very easy for Audrey Bledsoe, but you have to say that's a gilt-edged chance to make it 2-0.
Yeah, it's definitely a look at goal that Emsley's going to keep looking back on once this game's over and wonder how she didn't bury it and put the girls 2-0 and potentially away.
Just a couple of things from the comments. Firstly, to Arga Das on YouTube, questioning who the assist was for that goal. It was Emily Van Egmond playing a 1-2 with Steph Catley. So that's that one, and thank you very much for your comments. I look forward to reading more of them throughout it. Yeah, it's interesting seeing this camera zoom a long way out and seeing absolutely no fans in the stadium. I remember a couple of years back there was a pre-season game as Kaya Simon tries a little flick to get in Emily Van Egmond in behind, but is unsuccessful. But with an excellent challenge, played out wide, Ellie Carpenter in behind, skinning her defender, holding up, whipping across, plays it through to Emily Van Egmond. Kingo on the edge of the box with an excellent challenge, but Teresa Polias is able to break away. There was a couple of pre-season games in years gone by where they were played at Amy Park with no fans, just media, and it's a very unusual feeling watching the game with absolutely no one around. It sort of feels like you're watching park football to an extent, just with the silence and, you know, comments from players that you wouldn't expect, like See It Out or your Sunday League commentary. So it's a very interesting game that we're watching today.
I always feel Sunday League is not as far away from the professional game as everyone thinks. There's a lot of sayings that ring true. As we see here, Simon beating multiple players and whipping in an early ball.
Oh, coming off the crossbar. Steph Catley.
I'm not sure if that was meant to be a cross, but Catley's now got it at the edge of the box again, whipping in another cross to Van Egmond, who has to bounce off Kinga, who's now got to beat her player and bounces back to Van Egmond, who tries to get it back to Kinga, but Sydney have been able to intercept that and are now looking to counter-attack straight away.
There was a comment that I've heard previously from a couple of professional players that the difference between NPL level players and A-League players is the capacity to train at a high level more so than the technical capacity. It's more their physical endurance, their training capacity, their ability to bounce back from injuries, and the amount of effort they put into keeping their body up at a certain level. I think you'd probably argue, looking at a couple of A-League players like Elvis Campsoba, that despite being a good quality NPL player, that doesn't make them an excellent quality A-League player. But yeah, it's an interesting consideration from an ex-Melbourne Heart player there, who I won't name.
We now see Sydney trying to control the ball a little bit more and take an early chance, but every long through ball is being cut off by a checker or stop so far, with Barnes mostly playing kind of like a midfielder. She's trying to play balls through to Catley on this side and set off attacks, and Catley with a lovely little feint who's played it forward to Emsley, who's now beaten her play, and she's taken a lucky deflection, but the ball's gone too far away from her so she can't get. See here Sydney playing a ball out to the right wing, who's now looking to shape for an early hits her target in the middle, but the touch is too heavy, and the City centre backs are able to mop it up with ease and turn and play out their own and try and start their own attack.
Emily Van Egmond with the ball in the middle, unfortunately just a little bit too wide there for Ellie Carpenter. And one comment that we've just received is from, shall we say, a celebrity, Scott Munn, ex-CEO of Melbourne Heart, Melbourne City FC, jumping onto the commentary, jumping onto one of our streams. Welcome, Scott. Hope everything is going well in China. Glad to have you on board. Glad that you're watching the game today and glad that you're listening to the stream. Hopefully another championship in the bag as we see Steph Catley get the Falcon to end all Falcons.
So Scott has actually been stuck in Melbourne for a little while, I believe. The rumour that I heard was that he was not able to get back to China. So if you keep up with Scott's Instagram, you get to see a lot of very fun content. And the Munster is certainly one of my favourite people to have ever been involved with the club at any levels. Hope you're doing well, Scott. We'd love to have you on. If you're keen to jump in and have some banter with the boys, just hit us up in the DM.
Absolutely. And obviously we're aware that there are some issues with the audio being a little bit scattered at the moment. We will endeavour to improve that as time goes on. However, we are limited by the internet and limited a little bit by the quality of the national broadband network. But we will endeavour to have everything up and perfect for you as much as we possibly can. So thanks again for listening to our stream. If anyone is watching the game, we are currently in the 36th minute, 36 minutes and 55 seconds as the ball is played wide to Sydney's left wing, and Stoddy comes across and concedes a corner for Sydney FC. So just coming onto the 37th minute. Oh, now watching that replay, that was a reasonably clear handball by Steph Catley. So very lucky to get away with that as not being a penalty. By all rights, it probably should have been.
Oh, well, that's never a handball. Well done, Steph. Good defence. We see here the ball's coming out of the box, and Sydney looked to reload, but a real scuff. What a bit of a put the ball in the air and hope for the best. Now surrounded by three, but was able to get the punch away. Whoever's just cleared that has gone down, holding their ankle. Hopefully that was not Steph. That looks like boots. Nope, we're out. That's okay. It's Luick, actually, who's now limping. You can see heading back towards the top of the box. She certainly looks like a potential rolled ankle or something of the like.
certainly seems like things improved a little bit for her. Certainly, hopefully we don't see any major injuries in this game. It's an interesting thing now with the way of the world. We've heard previously that a lot of the W League players on Sunday have got flights booked out of Australia to go to their respective next teams. Teams going to Europe, Norway, Japan for players like Yukari King. Whether any of those will actually occur now, it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think it certainly depends on each individual club. I believe the American side will be looking to get the players to come over. But, with the travel advice of not to leave Australia or to return to Australia if you are an Australian citizen, I'm not sure they will travel, and I think you'll see these girls finally get a bit of a break that they so desperately do.
I think there was an interview that maybe you yourself did with Steph Catley a couple of years ago, which was talking about the fact that she had, in the space of 2 or 3 years, had 2 weeks off playing football in that whole period of time with the combination of her duties for Rain FC, Melbourne City, and also the Matildas. So these girls work their bodies to the absolute bone and put a hell of a lot of effort into keeping themselves fit. So they are certainly due a little bit of a break, and I think this is one of the considerations for the W League in the future is how to make the league as professional as possible, get as many games as possible for these girls, but at the same time give them the capacity to recover appropriately and get a reasonable amount of rest between seasons and games.
Our chat with Steph Catley, that was the first episode of Beyond Football where she said that, and that was where she first alluded to potentially having to go to Europe to get the proper season that we're looking for in terms of being able and really settle into a professional rhythm. So it's an interesting dilemma that a lot of these girls are now facing. Obviously, more than good enough to play in Europe. Where's best for them? Are they best to play in America and the W League, or getting those minutes and keep trying to force their way into a very strong Matilda side through sheer form, or are they better off and get themselves a little bit more rest, but still playing at such a high level? It's going to be an interesting off-season for the girls who have to make that decision, and I certainly don't envy them.
And it's one of those things that I think we don't consider is not just the actual game time requirements of the players in terms of playing X many games per season, X many games per week, but it's also the fact that for the Matildas, they're flying usually from one side of the world to the other for games in Australia. If they're over in the US, if they're over in the UK, that's 24 hours of travel each way, the recovery period it takes for that, getting used to the new time zones. So there's a lot of considerations that need to be taken into how best to protect these girls and allow them to recover appropriately. It's good to see that the W League this season has had international breaks. I think it would be one of those things where if it didn't, our season would have been nigh on destroyed.
Well, we only have 5 players that aren't representing their country. So during that last one, the week before our semi-final, we had 5 players in our squad still in Melbourne. So they actually had to train with the MPL side just to make sure they had enough people to do a training session. As we see the girls there breaking down a promising Sydney counter-attack, but a touch too heavy there from Stott, which is not something you say very often. She's normally so composed and so controlled with her play, but to her credit, the team has mopped up behind her, with Lulick being able to drop in to be that third centre-back, and we see them switch back with Lulick now back into a normal defensive midfielder position, and Kai Simon mopping up and looking to play Van Egmond through, who decides to play it safe and take some time on the ball and have the ball bounce between Barnes, Catley and Checker for a few before we look to go forward again.
It has been a bit of a disjointed half, wouldn't you say, in terms of how we're playing? It's not been as fluid, it's not been as consistent as maybe some others.
Sydney's got a turnover here on the edge of the box. They've been able to get themselves in, and she's had the shot, and Lydia's been able to save that and does the smart gamesmanship thing there and lays on the ball to give the team a second to adjust to what's just happened and hopefully get their heads right for the next bit of attack.
I'm happy not to see her hold her head there and fake an injury, so that's the reasonable amount of gamemanship that I'm happy with.
No, I think it has been a disjointed half, and the girls looked a little bit rattled. I think if Emsley had scored her chance, it would have been game over, and we could have been already looking towards a nice result. We're actually having a chat with Jess Fishlock, of all people, the GOAT, who is agreeing with what we're saying. The girls look a little bit rattled and a little bit disjointed, and we're just discussing if we think it's because there's no crowd and it's such a weird atmosphere, or if it's just simply grand final pressure.
And I think we probably should make a mention here. Jess, we love you. When your ACL's fixed, please come back and play for us. You can always have a place at Melbourne City, either on the pitch or as a coach. We 100% want you back someday. We all love you here.
Here. Way to Matty Bonici's heart was a screenshot he sent me earlier. There was a Timberwolves framed jersey in the background of Jess's message of support to the girls. So I think Matty cried of happiness. So we'd definitely love to have you back one day, Jess, in any way, shape or form, as we see the girls starting to look down this right wing a little bit more. They've clearly thought that Carpenter hasn't been able to get as much involvement as she wanted to yet, so we're trying now to bring her into the game a bit more. As soon as I say that, we switch to the left, where we have done all of our attacking in the shade. The sun has got a bit of bite to it, so that will hurt Sydney's high press because it's going to tire them out even quicker. We see here Simon running onto the ball, and she's being fouled. How is that not given?
It's a very unusual thing. You sort of see it where it's almost like a basketball level foul where the defender just stops, clearly impedes the run, but because of the fact that the attacker was moving, it's just not given. It's an unusual thing in football. It's not really by the letter of the law, but it is what it is, and we just simply move on. Steph Catley with some excellent tricky footwork to get in behind, and I think that is a question of whether that went out or not. Hard to say, but we'll follow the referee's advice there. Now, at the halftime chat, there's a story that I want to give in regards to Jess Fishlock and some of the members of Talking City earlier this year, where I feel like maybe we got her a little bit more offside than we intended. And Jess, if you're listening, I'm very sorry that we took up so much of your time for that. But we'll tell you that one coming into the halftime break, as we see Lydia Williams slowing the ball down, playing the ball out to touch for Steph Catley, who appears to be in a reasonable amount of pain. I didn't quite see what happened to her there. Did you see something there, Matt?
No, I missed it. I was quickly checking the stream and some messages, so unfortunately I didn't see what happened to Steph there either.
Well, while Steph's recovering, have you got any messages there from anyone that you'd like to
No, not
pass
anything new here. We've only got the message asking if it was a handball in the box, and as it was a City player, definitely not. No handball there, never, not a chance.
And another comment from BT. We're not sure whether this is BT from Ballarat or actual BT from Ballarat, saying awful miss by Emsley for that one-on-one shot. And I would have to agree, we should have put that one away, but we move on, and hopefully she scores the next one.
Yeah, I think she's definitely got it in her. She's one of the hardest working players. I was chatting to someone at the club, and she's the first one out there. She's the first one out there every day shooting around on the community pitch. She's the last one to come in from training and generally works so hard to get her chance to play for Scotland and to be the best player that she can be.
She does have an excellent touch, and it's one of those things where at the very start of the season, Josh and I predicted her to be one of the strongest players in the side, and she had a very slow start in terms of being able to put goals away, but she was getting into the right position, making the right kind of moves and runs, but just not, unfortunately, getting on the score sheet. As we hear the referee blow for half-time, hopefully we get a little bit closer look, and it seems like maybe there was a stray arm or a stray elbow that's caught Steph in the face, causing her to go down. But she seems like she's okay, and hopefully onwards and upwards for Steph, and hopefully we see things improve. So half-time here at Amy Park, Melbourne City 1, Sydney FC 0. Steph Catley scoring the goal in the 15th minute, and Fox Sports there confirming that it has been awarded to Steph. So one of my pre-match predictions from the Thursday podcast has come true. Hopefully the rest of them does, which is a 5-0 win to Melbourne City. We'd have to see a very strong second half for that as the girls go in, get their water, and will go away for a halftime break. So Matt, what do you make of that first half?
I think it's a first half that we've seen the girls struggled to put away the chances that they've had, and really we should be 2, maybe 3 ahead, but especially that Emsley one. But ultimately, being a clean sheet at the moment is a fantastic point, and we've got to keep working from here to get the result that we want. I'm again speaking with Jess. She thinks we'll win 2-3-0, so hopefully her prediction comes true and we can enjoy seeing the girls lift the trophy that they so desperately deserve. I think Sydney's press is going to run out of legs very soon. It's a warm enough day that they're not going to be able to keep that up for the whole time, and they do. Some of them do already look gassed. I think halftime probably came 5 minutes too early for us. We were very composed, and they were starting to run out of legs.
Absolutely. And it was a very interesting comment that I read on Twitter earlier in the week from some of the Sydney fans complaining that they weren't able to wear their, well, let's call it sky blue kit for this game. I think it was a very significant lack of insight, shall we say. The fact that, it's our home game, our home final, we're ahead of them on the table. Obviously, we get to wear our home kit, which is City Blue, and given that the sky blue one is a clash kit, I think it's definitely the right thing that we've moved on, and we've got Sydney wearing their away kit because they are the away team.
Would have been funnier if we did all this and then rolled out in the red and white kit. That would have been quite a bit of banter and make them wear their away kit while we're in a third kit. But ultimately, home game, we get to wear the kit we want, and the sky blue, which is certainly growing on everyone. It's here to stay and something we definitely have to accept. Should we take a quick break here, Lockie, and play some of our beautifully created ads that I want some credit for at some point that I found the template? Okay. And we can have a quick break and give each other a high five and rest each other's ears.
When we say high five, we're obviously talking about an elbow bump
or a virtual high five.
My suggestion for everyone has been the Wakanda Forever chant. It makes it non-touch entirely, and it's excellent. So, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, if you are listening at home, you can follow us on a number of our different social media channels, which we popping up on the video section of the screen at the moment. We have Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and as everyone's favourite Tuesday night thing to do at 7 o'clock is to listen to the Talking City Hour live on SEN at 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. every Tuesday with Matt McIndoe, Matt Benici, and Harrison Verco with some excellent insight and comments in the capacity for you to call in as required. So we'll go away to a short break. We'll come back closer to the end of the halftime period. You are listening to the Talking City match companion commentary for the grand final between Melbourne City FC and Sydney FC.
so I can see here, Lockie, we've been lucky enough to have a few more people join in over the halftime break. So it's great to have you all here. We're still looking at a current chance to win another title for the girls and get the trophy that they so desperately deserved. How can we finish off this game, do you think? So it seems like Lockie has stepped away from his computer like a smart man, taking his chance for a break, which I did not do. So let's look towards this game and what I think is going to be important, and then Lockie can jump on when he's back. I think ultimately we've got to keep the pace up. The more we drop off, the bigger the chance that they will come over the top of us and get the goal that they don't really deserve. I think we've really got to get out there and keep pushing the tempo of this game and see how quick we can play, and then take our chance to finish off when we do get into the box and win the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's one of those things where we saw them at the start of the first half. They came out really strong with the first 15 minutes, put a lot of chances on them. When we scored, they dropped back a fair bit. I think we'll probably see that a little bit again in the second half. They've really got nothing to lose by coming forward. It's going to give us a lot of chances on the break, but it's just a matter of remaining composed and taking those opportunities.
Yeah, and again, so we're having a bit of dialogue with Jess Fishlock as the game goes on, and it looks like the girls will get a bit of a break. The ones that were due to go to the US, they don't think anyone will be arriving anytime soon. So as bad as it is situation-wise, at least it gives the girls a chance to get the break that they desperately deserve.
Completely agree, and I'm sorry about the sounds of wrapping paper in the background. I may or may not be having a sneaky afternoon snack.
You're lucky Troy's not listening, or else you'd never hear the end of it.
That's true. I'm sure he would have a Mifsud Moments offside for any food being consumed during any form of audio recording whatsoever. So Troy, this one's for you. Cheers. So, as we've mentioned throughout the stream, if you want to get involved in the stream, please feel free to do so on the YouTube chat section, on the Twitch chat section, or by sending us a message on our Talking City Facebook page or our Twitter account. We're keen to hear what you guys have to say about this game, where you think the match is headed, how the players are playing, and what do you think the second half is going to look like?
Hopefully a little bit more of the same with a little bit more success and putting away the chances that we get, as we've touched on. It'll be good to see how they can come out from this halftime break and how they respond and how they can take it away.
Completely agree. Do you see any changes getting made early on, or do you think this is going to be one of those games where we'll hold on to the same formation, same players until sort of later in the match before making a late substitution in the sort of 70th, 80th minute?
Look, with the squad that we've got, I don't see any point making a change at this time, to be honest. As good as Ali Watt is and as good as Milimjanovic is, and they would definitely start in every single other W League side, with the 11 that we've got out there are doing the job, so I don't see the point in making a change as of yet. If we get to the 60th minute and we haven't been able to score that second goal, then maybe we look to make a move and see where we can find that second goal. And I would then say Mijanovic and Watt would both come on, but I think we've got to let these girls go as long as they can, because it's such a strong lineup.
Completely agree. Now, I guess the other thing that we should probably talk about is this being towards the end of the W League season now, 45 minutes left plus extra time, hopefully, as long as there's no goal scored by Sydney in this half. Do you think there are going to be any players moving on who are not going to be heading overseas? So say, for example, Steph goes overseas to Arsenal, Emily Van Egmond picks up a contract in Europe. Do you think there are going to be other players who might be looking to move on to other W League sides in the coming seasons?
It's a hard one to know, because really nearly all of our side deserves to get that chance to go to Europe or to go to America, but
I don't think they will be able to go, and I don't think the American season will be able to start on time, if at all, for a little bit. So I don't know who's going to move anywhere with the whole corona problems, but for me, a lot of the squad deserve to move wherever they want to go, if they want to go to Europe or if they want to stay playing in 2 seasons. I think Emma Czech is the big one for me. She's one I can see making a move to the US rather than playing in NPL Victoria. But again, I think Corona's come at the wrong time for her, because I think it's going to really limit anyone's movement, especially footballers trying to get to the US.
And you had a couple of chats with her both on the SEN show on Tuesdays, and for anyone who hasn't listened to that yet, SEN 7pm till 8pm on the Talking City Hour. Emma Checker was a guest on there once, and you've also done a Beyond Football with her. Did you get the impression that that was what she was looking at doing?
So we haven't done one with Checker. We did one with Lydia, Kaya and Steph for Beyond Football. But yeah, on SEN she definitely did give us the impression that she wanted to look for another chance and find somewhere where she can play as the girls we see her back out ready for the second half.
And comments from Stephanie Brantz on Fox Sports said that Emsley is looking at flying back to Europe tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So we can see that we will potentially be having some of our players leave despite issues with their travel and coronavirus. So good luck to Claire Emsley. Hopefully she has a safe journey back, because she's had an excellent season for us so far.
Yeah, my theory, or my guess, would be that the foreigners will probably try to return home as soon as possible before all borders close off, and then the Australians will be staying here in Australia for as long as they will, obviously, and then as long as they can before the leagues start up, and hopefully that's soon, and all this corona, not nonsense, but hopefully all this corona problems goes away sooner rather than later and allows people to get back to. We see here Sydney are now on the attack to start off. They're on the front foot for the first minute or so far, and as soon as I say that, we play a long ball through to Emsley, who's been asked to chase it down but has not been able to get there ahead of the Sydney FC defender.
So just to keep everyone in the loop with what times the games are, Matt, I'll get you to call out what time your stream is at the moment so everyone can sync up as appropriate.
Yep, so I've got 46, 06, 07, 08, 09, 46, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So just at that period of time, Ellie Carpenter with a shot going over the bar. I think I'm probably about 3 or 4 seconds behind you, as Fox Sports cut to Rado Vidicic having a interview on the sideline.
Yeah, it's one thing that happens in Australia that is very odd, where we interview coaches during the game. It's not something you see really in any other league. I'm not sure how much it truly adds, but if it's what Fox Sports want to do after they've laid off everyone, then maybe that's the way they keep the content, as we see City striding forward to attack here. Early cut in, balls bounce out to Lewick, who's played it across to Simon, who can't get the shot off. It's come back to Lewick, who's in a challenge with the Sydney player. And then we see City players sliding in everywhere. There's a lot of desperation to win this ball and try and put your foot on it and control it, but Sydney has now got it, and you can see here we're already double teaming the Sydney strikers, so it's going to take a fair effort to get away from our girls and to take their chance, Sydney.
To answer one of the comments on the YouTube chat to Patty Cake, the question was, is there supposed to be a watch live stream as the YouTube stream suggests? No, this is not a watch live in terms of we are not streaming the game. That's against YouTube policy. We are simply a Talking City companion commentary, as the name suggests.
Unfortunately, Paddy, it's not something we're able to provide footage of as Fox Sports, and the FFA have obviously got an exclusive deal, so they have the rights, and that's where it is.
So I guess the other question that might be raised is in regards to someone like Rado Vidicic, who has been with City for a couple of years now, who's been the Melbourne City women's coach for 2 years now, and I believe he was on a 2-year deal when he first signed on a coaching contract. Do you see him staying on for next season?
Well, I can't see him getting sacked, let's put it that way. I think it comes down to what Rado wants to do. I think really
from what I've understood of his coaching career, he's kind of, oh, hang on, Sydney's here. They're one-on-one with Lydia Williams. Lydia comes up huge and gets a big hand to save it, and then Carpenter cleans up the spill as it was heading towards the goal line. A big scare for City there. 48 minutes gone, nearly 49 minutes gone, and we've seen Sydney's first huge chance to get themselves back into this game. I don't believe Rado really has gone to many clubs that hasn't had his son Dario involved with him to begin with. But, he stayed here a year after Dario left, so I can see him wanting to stay on. I can't see the club really wanting to get rid of him after he's done such a fantastic job this year. I know you're not his biggest fan.
Look, I probably need to clarify a lot of those comments about why I'm not a big fan of Rado. And I think a lot of it is to do with one of a few things. Firstly, it's the fact that when he first came out, the style of football that we were playing wasn't as polished, it wasn't as refined, and it probably wasn't as successful in the attacking measure as it had been in years gone by with guys like Joe Montemuro, Jess Fishlock, and Paddy Kisnorbo at the reins. I thought some of the transfer decisions we made were unusual. The fact that we allowed players to come back into pre-season with, I think, a day or two before the season kicked off and then expected them to walk into the starting 11 seemed a little bit unusual, and I'm not sure that that's a club decision. I think, just as Emily Van Egmond gets put under pressure and clears the ball wide, I think it's more of an expectation from the NWSL that these players are going to be there till the very last minute. And while that's not unreasonable, because at the end of the day, these players are owned by the NWSL clubs, their contracts are with them, it is still a little bit frustrating for us as supporters, because we found in the years gone by, if we do not get a good start to the season, then we're chasing our tails, and that's what we saw for years 2, 3 and 4. We had to rely on sneaking it in 4th place into the finals before being able to win the championship from there. So I was a lot happier this year in terms of the fact that we seemed like we were trying to get players there a little bit earlier. We seemed like we were trying to have a little bit more of the cohesion early doors. And that, I think, reflected in how we performed this year. Now, do I think Rado as a coach is as good as someone like Joe Montemuro? Probably not. I think he's been blessed with probably the strongest arsenal of footballing talent, period. Like, it's what always gets brought up when people talk about guys like Pep Guardiola. If you put someone like that in Stoke City and you didn't have, Lionel Messi, players like that on the pitch for him, would he be as good as he is? Then maybe not, who knows, but he's done it at multiple levels. But Rado at an A-League level hasn't shown a great deal. When he was at Brisbane, he was an average level manager. And here, although he's had an excellent season, I do wonder whether or not if you had Paddy Kisnorbo, we would be seeing the exact same results. So that's a lot of my feelings on Rado, is that it's not so much that he is not good, it's more that he's got such quality in behind with him. How could he not be this good? Which is why last year was such a disappointing season.
Yeah, that's definitely fair criticism and fair comments and fair questions to ask.
So we've now got a corner on the attacking right side of the corner. Steph Catley standing over the top of it. Plays it short to Emily Van Egmond. Plays it back to Steph Catley, who came from an onside position but cleared only as far as Ellie Carpenter by Sydney FC. And now we get to reset again with Claire Emsley on the left, who takes a shot from distance, very, very, very keen. It would be doing very well to beat the goalkeeper from there. A little bit of a fumble, but cleaned up well.
So just another comment here from Paddy. Yeah, it's all good, mate. Unfortunately, we can't do anything video-wise. We can only provide a non-victory alternative to the Fox Sports commentary with one current victory player in there and one former victory player, obviously, in Archie Thompson, who struggles with the English language and the name of the club. So we generally just try to provide another option.
Completely and utterly agree. Anything that has no Archie Thompson on it, I'm sure, is better than anything that has Archie Thompson on it, as I'm sure the A-League has been considered since he retired. So, 53 minutes gone. City with the possession, Sydney with one chance this half so far. We're still not looking like we're completely comfortable on the ball as we see Claire Emsley get fouled. But we are still holding on to a lot of the possession. You just feel like this game needs another goal from us to really kind of kill it off. And if we get one, then I suspect the floodgates will probably open as Sydney becomes more and more desperate. At the moment, they seem still very measured.
And just as we watch the girls come forward and the chance cleared by Sydney there, just to touch on that, Scott, the Munster, we're not saying that Rido isn't a good manager, and I'm saying I personally would be keeping him on as long as he's interested in staying. You know, there is some questions that need to be asked from last season when he did have a very good squad and wasn't able to make finals. Like I don't think it was such a disaster. As we all know, the players were preparing for an Olympic season, and this being managed to such a high level with, you know, being able to bring in players like Ali Watt and have her become a success over here inside the space of a couple of weeks. You know, I think there's a lot that should be given credit to him. It's just a question that should be asked when we're demanding such high standards from our women's side of the club, and I think it's a question that's fair to ask of anyone who potentially doesn't reach the high standards that everyone sets for themselves.
And let's just make this explicitly simple. This is my personal opinion. This isn't, you know, the opinion of everyone at Talking City, as I'm sure you guys have heard. Matty Benici takes me to task on this every single time we talk about it. So this is just my feeling, which is that last season was a disappointment, and I don't think anyone who's involved in the club would say anything otherwise. Not making finals, you know, you could talk about not winning the premiership, not winning the championship, and yes, that would be disappointing. But with the team that we had at our disposal, you know, players like Kellon Knight, Tamika Yallop, knee butt, you know, we had the quality to be able to go on and at bare minimum make finals. And the fact that we didn't start very well, we had a lot of players injured. There were a lot of mitigating circumstances, surely, but we absolutely had the quality compared to a lot of the other teams in the league that we should have been doing better. And that's a lot of the reason why my criticism comes at Rado, which is one thing that changed that, you know, as we see Claire Emsley get absolutely taken out, and surely that's a free kick to Melbourne City. Wow, that is just something else from the referee to give absolutely no fouls there. What a joke.
Yeah, I tend to agree with PT from Ballarat that the ref seems to have forgotten a whistle at times here. It's almost like she's just watching the game rather than actually controlling it as she needs to by being out in the middle. It's a time that this is where we need to see another goal from City to make sure that, oh, here we go, here's our chance with Kaya Simon streaming in one-on-one with the keeper. She shoots and just misses to the left. I think the keeper did not get a touch. Okay, I thought she must have made a save there, but Kaya's missed just outside the left-hand post, and another chance burnt. Are we going to see this come back to hurt us at any point, or do you think Sydney aren't showing that they've got a goal in them at this point?
Look, I think Sydney will get a chance or two, like a clear chance again later in the half. Yeah, the highlights show that the keeper did not end up getting a touch on that, so disappointing from Kaya. Really, in her current form, you would have expected her to put that away, but Sydney will still get a chance in the same way that we'll still get a bit of a chance. Yeah, it's just a matter of putting those opportunities away as early as we possibly can, and I think we've definitely got the capacity and the quality to overrun the Sydney team once we put one or two away. So throw in on the right-hand wing, Ellie Carpenter, Yukari Kinga, interchanging a couple of passes. Kinga just turning left, right, centre. Clearly, once again, another foul. Referee has just completely and utterly forgotten the concept of what a foul is. And I'm probably providing more biased commentary than Andy Harper does in a Perth game, so I'll try to hold myself back as best I possibly can, but this referee doesn't quite understand the concept of a grand final and needing to take control over challenges that are a little bit overzealous, shall we say. Hands all over the back of players and just getting ignored. So disappointing from the referee standards. Bring back Kate Jasowicz.
Oh, I'm a little bit ahead of you, I think, because my Foxtel just updated. I can't wait for you to see this one after that discussion. Let me know what minute and second you're at, please, Lachlan.
Well, that is a clear penalty.
There we go.
Clear penalty. So I am at the 58th minute and 10, 11, 12, 13 seconds. Honest to God, I don't think I've seen a more clear penalty in my entire footballing career. Kai Simon gets tunnelled and then gets thrown into the back of Ellie Brush. Like that is, in every day of the week, a foul. Anywhere on the pitch, no part of that is not a foul. And that is just a disgrace by the ref.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. And she's called nothing. That's the bit that bewilders me a bit here. She let the play go on. I don't know how you can have such a coming together without it being a foul, either to the defender or to the attacker. That doesn't quite make sense. I'll get you to just give me your time code again, please, when you get a chance.
So 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 59 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Synced up?
Yep, pretty close. I'm a second behind you now.
Excellent. Okay. So it seems like the referee has given a free kick to Sydney FC from that, which is a questionable decision, and is sending Kaya Simon off the pitch for treatment, which again is even more questionable given that two Sydney players
it's because a physio came on. So if a physio comes onto the pitch, they have to come off, same as how the Sydney players come off. So you'll see them probably stand next to each other for a second, but yeah, once the physio enters the pitch, they have to come off unless the tackle receives the yellow card.
I don't quite understand.
So she still hasn't given anything. It was a drop ball, so she didn't see a foul either way there, and she's called a drop ball. So interesting from the ref there. Not quite sure she's
got control of this.
She's having control of the game and knowing what she wants to do here. So hopefully we don't see any bad challenge or anything result from players thinking they've got a little bit of extra rope. There's only been one red card this season, and that was to Western Sydney. So both of these sides and every other side in the league have been able to go through a whole year without a red card so far.
And it's a very interesting one as we see Ellie Carpenter break down the wing. It's now 3-on-2, just unfortunately overhits that first touch, and Alana Kennedy is able to come across and make an excellent clearance. It's unusual as well because the drop ball came halfway up the pitch. And you sort of would have expected the drop ball to be done at the place that the injury was. So, again, questionable decisions.
It's done where the ball was when the game was stopped. So the ball was roughly in that territory. So that's why it's from there, because she allowed the game to go on a little bit. So we see here Steph cutting in across the middle, almost being fouled, but keeping her feet, playing it to Kingo, who's trying to get Carpenter to start the run, but overhits the ball for Ellie to chase.
So Sydney FC going to be making the first change of the game. Princess Abini coming on. We're yet to see who she's going to be taking off, but that's a very attacking move by the Sydney FC coach.
Pretty standard sub for them. So I watch a couple of their games, and this is roughly the time that they bring Abini on, or maybe a little bit later if they're winning. So not a huge shock, and I'm sure we'll see a change with Watt or Mijatovic coming on soon for our championship winning side, hopefully.
As we see Yukari Kinga played in behind. Oh, ball across. Cleared out by the Sydney FC centre-back.
So again, the Sydney FC all hands to the pump. They're starting to clear it long and hope for the best, with Stott showing some composure on the ball, playing it into Checker, who's now looking to restart the attack. Unfortunately, overhits it for Catley, and a little bit optimistic, I think, is a nice way to word that one.
Sydney FC now getting to make that substitution. Looks like Remy Simonson, so it's a direct swap up front.
Yeah, she's been a bit quiet, Simonson. She was looking good for her chance, and she got in behind, but wasn't able to take it. So maybe that's the reason for the sub. They think that a Beanie can come in and make the difference. It's going to be an interesting final 30 minutes, and I know I keep saying interesting, so I apologise in advance. Very limited vocab.
Remy Simonson, we know probably not as fast as not Bernie Abini. Jesus, that's her brother. Princess Abini, she's a very fast player, able to get in behind defenders, so I expect we'll probably see a little bit of that. So longer balls in behind potentially from Sydney FC in this period as they get a sustained period of possession that they haven't had up until now in this game. So interesting decision, interesting developments. Hopefully this provides us with the capacity to get forward and score a couple more goals on the counter to really kill this game off.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to start looking towards doing to get that next chance as early as we can. The girls are looking solid on the ball and are starting to play the ball around. They just need to get that next chance. We're running at currently just under 60% possession at the moment, really holding the ball and trying to strangle Sydney out of this game.
A couple of comments in the YouTube chat there. My wife asking for us to bring in VAR for women's football. I think I would absolutely never put such a horrible thing on women's football. It's a perfect, pristine and excellent type of football, and I do not want it destroyed and ruined by VAR in the same way that the men's game has. And Paddy Cake commentating, saying that regardless of what sounds like horrific officiating, Melbourne City's 7-8 Matildas and bench depth really should have us ahead 3 or 4-0. Agree in theory. We've certainly got the capacity, but a final usually finds most teams play with a slightly more defensive setup, and we've seen that with Sydney. They're playing very tight around the back. You can see when we break, they're dropping their 2 centre defensive midfielders, so they're 6 and they're 8, into a position to, as City just calmly pass the ball out of defence. They look at dropping their 6 and their 8 onto the edge of the penalty box, so we're really playing against the back 6 when we're attacking. So it is making it very difficult for us to get chances, but certainly from the chance that Claire Emsley had in the first half and Kaya Simon did in that second, we certainly should be at least 3 goals to the good at this stage as Ellie Carpenter breaks. It's a 4-on-3. Carpenter gets in behind, has a shot, unfortunately just fades past the left post. Audrey Bledsoe not with a touch on that.
So I would just like to touch on that one, Paddy. If you can access TV and can get to ABC, it is on free-to-air TV, and you will be able to see the final 25 minutes or so of the game if you can get onto that. But just because we have so many Matildas, to me, doesn't really automatically mean that we should be scoring multiple goals a game. The reason I would say we should be 3 or 4-0 up is just based on the chances we've had, but Sydney are a good side, and they held us to 2-1 last time we played them, so I definitely wouldn't be saying a blowout is what should be the minimum standard. We've got a very good side, but Sydney are very competitive and a well-structured side, as we see Van Egmond on the ball, playing it through to Emsley, who's now, because of the slow build-up, allowed Sydney to get back and defend, but we keep on pressing forward with Lillard getting onto the ball, sliding in. The ref lets it go. Kinga has it on the edge of the box on the right-hand side, back to Lilick in the middle. Lilick plays it back to Stott, who looks to her left and plays out wide to Catley. We've got, I'd say that's Emsley out wider if we can hit her, but they've come back towards the middle, and now we're seeing the ball at halfway.
Geez, you would have argued it would have been a hate crime if the referee had called that challenge by Ivy Lucas a foul, given what she's let go this whole game.
Yeah, it would have been brave to call that one a foul when you've let the other ones go, but
Cross getting whipped in, header at the back post. Kaya Simon, Emily Van Egmond nearly getting onto the end of that. Absolutely no touch there. Sydney FC player goes down in a crumpled heap and they get a free kick and their left back position. Very close again to getting a second goal. Emily Van Egmond, you'd argue, probably should have got a slightly better header on that, and unfortunately was a little bit behind us. We see City make our first change, and it's a very attacking move. Yukari Kinga playing as our number 8, getting brought off, bringing on Melanie Mijatovic. So we are absolutely going for the throat with a substitution like that. What a move by Rado Vidicic, who I've never said anything bad about.
This is a big chance for Mijatovic to come on and have a strong 25 minutes and show how good she actually is. We've seen it all season until she started to sit on the bench occasionally, how good she can be, and it'd be great to see her come on and make a difference in such a big game. She's such an infectious character, such a great personality, and I think it'd be good to see her do well. I know when we interviewed her after the other Sydney game, actually, where she hit a fantastic volley to win the game, that's all she wanted to talk about because she was so happy to be scoring for City. So hopefully we can see her score again.
And again, we described her as a dark horse at the very start of the season. We didn't expect much because we didn't have any YouTube videos to go from. There wasn't much information on the internet about her, but she's been quite a signing for Melbourne City FC this W League season. She certainly got us out of a couple of games where we were, in crisis, maybe struggling to get goals, and some of the bangers that she's hit have just been sensational.
Well, she is a former European Champions League player, so she certainly has the pedigree to make a big difference in this league. Yes, Paddy, on YouTube we have had Kinga come off, which not a surprising move, I would say. It's probably the most clear-cut change that we could make with Mijatovic to come on, because I don't think you'd be putting her on a wing when you've got the likes of Watt on the bench. So I think that's a solid change, and Mijatovic can play both attacking and defensively.
And it's interesting following the comments on a lot of the W League Melbourne City accounts from people from outside of Australia who's watching. There's a supporter called Lucas Diniz, who sounds like he's potentially from Brazil, as we see a clear foul on the edge of the box. Referee may be playing on or just ignoring the concept of a foul entirely. It's interesting to see that in these times the A-League has gone from a, Euro snobs don't want anything to do with it kind of league to this is now one of the only leagues that it's still playing in the world, and it's being watched around the entirety of the planet, and hopefully people are getting onto Melbourne City and watching us, fingers crossed, getting our 4th championship.
But it is something the W League has always had a fairly good international footprint due to the fact that these girls play in so many different countries and play at such a high standard. Again, Paddy, just to respond to you because you have come back. Yes, Kinga is a fantastic player. I'm just saying that would be the sub if you are going to bring on Mijatovic. Kinga is struggling with a high-paced game, I would say. She hasn't been able to put too much of her influence on this game that we have seen from other chances. We see Catley streaming back into the box, but unable to get her shot off. Look, I don't think it's a disrespect to Kinga. I think she's a fantastic player, but that was the substitution that makes the most sense in our midfield. And yeah, I think Righto's made a pretty decent call there to try and go for the throat.
I completely agree. I mean, you're never going to take Ivy Lewick off because the way that she screens the back three as the 6 and drops into the centre-back position when she has to, she adds so much depth to the game. And Emily Van Egmond, I mean, what is there that we haven't said about Emily Van Egmond this season? As we see Ellie Carpenter get in behind, touch, Millie Mijatovic at the back post. Van Egmond has a shot. Oh, saved by Audrey Bledsoe, lowered her left post. So
to be critical there, Mijatovic has put it on the wrong foot for Van Egmond there. All she needed to do was get it onto her right peg to let her have an early one-time shot, but she took a little bit too long to settle on the ball, and that turned Emily having to turn and try and get the shot off. So maybe that's first touch nerves coming on in such a big game, but something that she's going to need to get her next one right to make sure we take the most of it, with BT from Ballarat rightly pointing out that we've been very dominant this half without being able to get any reward for it, and it does feel like the type of game where we could get hit on the counter. I think we really want to get a goal here in the next 5 or so minutes and settle the nerves and really set us on our way to celebrating another championship if we're so lucky to win one.
72nd minute now, and Rebecca Stott has the ball from Princess Abini in the back half of the pitch. And you just see the composure of our players to not rush it, not stress, play it out from the back, play the way that we want to play. I say that, and then we completely give the ball away from Claire Emsley, who is absolutely going to make amends for that by going and bullet a gate on Princess Abini. Sydney in their forward third now with the ball in an attacking position, playing it wide to the right, and a touch from Emma Checker plays in Ellie Carpenter, whose ball is just a little bit too short for Millie Mijatovic, who's on her heels there. So now we're seeing Veronica Latsko on the left-hand side trying to get a cross in, Rebecca Stott getting in the way and preventing that ball from coming in.
So let's talk about Rebecca Stott. Has there been a more dominant player in this league than Rebecca Stott as a centre-back? I think she's been one of the best in her position for such a long time, and I think people really don't give her the credit that she deserves. She's been there for every single one of our years. It's always her and Steph in the media calls and in the photos because they've been here so long. Is there a better player than Rebecca Stott to have come through as a centre-back for City?
No, I don't think there is. And I think it's it's the versatility of Stott, as we just pause for a second for a corner, in at the back post, but Lydia covers it well. She's such a versatile player. So throughout her City career, she's played as a centre-back, a right-back, a sweeper, centre defensive midfield. She's sometimes come all the way forward and scored some bangers from defensive positions. So just the capacity for her to... BT from Ballarat. The referee has found her book of cards and has finally given away a free kick and a yellow card. So that one specifically for you, BT. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, if Steph Catley hadn't been playing for 5 seasons, you would argue that Rebecca Stott would be the face of the women's game. And when you sort of take it back even further, she played for the Australia under-17s because she grew up in Australia,
and
even
20s.
though she is a Kiwi. Yeah, and 20s as well. So there was a chance for her to have been a Matilda's stalwart probably at this stage based off how good she is. You would argue that she's certainly a better centre-back than Claire Polkinghorne, Lana Kennedy on her day. She's probably as good, if not better. The composure that she's got, it's world class. And if she was Australian, I think she'd probably be getting a lot more plaudits than she is being a Kiwi. But yeah, absolutely. Rebecca Stott, she is the gel that just makes this team work. And it's just such an honour to have her on the side.
And so we're going on to nearly 63% possession there, Paddy. So the girls are truly controlling the game. That's very off. Very, very offside. So we're seeing here now 15 minutes to go, 74 minutes gone in the game. It's time for the girls to keep looking to get this next goal as we see a ball whipped in by Carpenter. The ref kind of got in the way there, but that's okay. No criticism there. Stott playing it forward, and now the whistle's gone because it's hit the ref. It has to be a drop ball.
Correct. It's interesting. This is maybe one of the first times this season that I've seen that happen. There was a time in the semi-final where it happened, and it wasn't actually called as a drop ball. So interesting to see that on the edge of the penalty box, drop ball chance in a very, very, very good position for Melbourne City.
So this is a rule that actually came in this season, or a law change that came in for this season. So because it's hit or it's a drop ball, I think
it is correct.
Allow it to. We'll probably kick it out for a goal kick, even though, in theory, we could take this and really have a chance to score a goal. It'll be a good test of sportsmanship here to see what the girls decide to do. I know what I'd be doing. I'd be trying to bury a volley.
100%. Emily Van Egmond, top right-hand corner. There is no way in hell, as we see her try to do exactly what I've said. There's absolutely...
was panicking, though, cost us about 10 yards with walking back every word she said because she wasn't comfortable in what she'd decided, and tried to even out the chance there a little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. This referee has certainly not been at the level we would expect, and if she's the best one that is available in Australia at the moment, you just have to wonder why we didn't bring Kate Jasowicz back for this, because in the games that she's reffed the men's team, she's been utterly sensational. She's above and beyond being the best women's referee in the country for such an extended period of time. You think that she just absolutely has to get that role, as we see Sydney FC caught offside.
So let's leave the ref discussion. I think from now, I think we've said enough about it. We can't really say anything else that's truly constructive. Let's look at our girls and look effectively at what they're doing and the way they're playing, because they're just so composed, even for a team that, as we've said, deserve a second goal. But they've been so composed with time on the ball that you wouldn't know that they're fighting for a championship. You'd think this is just a normal game. We see Lydia ping one out on cue, lace out and hitting someone exactly where she wants. I think it was Steph. Yeah, she hit Steph exactly where she wanted. She didn't have to move. Mijatovic was getting pulled back there, but no foul coming, and the ball's being played early by Sydney with Checker back to mop it up, and she'll play it to Lydia, who now has one Sydney player pressing her hard. I think the fact the whole stadium is now in shade is probably helping Sydney to be cooling it down while they're trying to play this high press.
Yeah, completely agree.
That brings them back into it.
And look, I think what we can say about this women's team is there are just so many different stories that we can touch on in terms of each of these players. We talk about, the experience, the coming through, the new players, the young players. Ellie Carpenter still being quite young and probably being one of the best players at right back that the W League has ever seen. Steph Catley, for someone who's still in her mid-20s to be this good, it's just utterly astounding. Emma Checker being the next generation of, Matilda's centre-back. Rebecca Stott being a veteran of the league again in her mid-20s. It's just, every single line of our team has got something that you could talk about. Kaya Simon returning from injury, having a very consistent season, scoring a lot of goals. Millie Mijatovic coming out of Europe to come down and take the league by storm. Claire Emsley, again, starting off the season in a difficult vein of form, struggling to get consistency and then getting on the score sheet and then just going from strength to strength to strength thereon. And Emily Van Egmond going from, a very good quality W League player to, I would say, someone who would be very close to odds on for winning the Julie Dolan medal from her performances this season. She has been the dominant force, not just in the W League, but also in the Matildas in the last 6 months. So lots of excellent stories from our women's team coming out, and hopefully a championship will be the just desserts for them.
So we see here now Sydney trying to play it out from the back with 79 minutes gone here, so we're in the 80th minute, starting to get into that tight period. That ball, it went out. And
that's gone out of bounds.
Saying that, but we're not going to do a BT, or I'm not going to do a BT impression. The ball breaks for Beanie, who comes up. Williams beats the ball away and makes a huge save to keep her team in the lead in this championship decider.
Absolutely, and we spoke about it. We expect Sydney to get one or two chances again before the end of the game, and Lydia Williams just showing her class, showing why she's the number one Matilda's goalkeeper at the moment, keeping us with a lead in the 80th minute. So going back to the YouTube comments, Patty Cake talking about Melbourne City having 5 Matilda's starters, Stoddy, Kinga, etc., all being internationals in their own right. And Sydney has Alana Kennedy. Yes, that is correct. However, they have got a lot of players who've been sort of there or thereabouts for the Matilda squad, but just obviously it's a bit difficult to break into at the moment given the quality that's existing in there at the moment. And another one to talk about is probably Yukari Kinga, who we know is heading back to Japan to play in the Japanese J2 League at the end of this season. I've said my piece about her in podcasts in years gone by, but I think certainly all credit to her. She's had a fantastic season in a slightly different role than what she's previously been used to. And she's been a linchpin of the side and certainly played a very strong role in us, getting all the way to this championship decider.
Strong on the ball there from Simon to ride the challenge and then play the ball through to Emsley, who unfortunately couldn't chase it down, and then fantastic tackle from Stott there to win the ball back in a dangerous position.
And what a run here by Ellie Carpenter.
Flying down the right-hand wing. Nobody in front of her but the goalkeeper. She's going to have to cut in and beat past Kennedy. Tries to play a ball back to Mijatovic, but puts it slightly behind Millie, and unfortunately Sydney are able to clear it out, but I wouldn't say the danger's gone for them, with Stott winning the ball back and then getting it to Simon, which was intercepted by a Sydney player, and then unfortunately a foul was given.
There's just a small part of me there that was wanting Ellie to go by herself and have a shot. It didn't really seem like that pass was on. No one really got up there in speed with her attack, so disappointing. Hopefully won't come back to haunt us later on as the ball is whipped across by Sydney FC and Steph Catley is able to recover that at left back.
We now see the ball getting cleared out again, but only as far as I can't even make out who that is on my TV. That's how bad my eyesight is now. But Barnes is now back on the ball, showing a bit of composure. Plays it into Lewick and back to Barnes on the edge of our defensive 18-yard box. She's looking for options to get it forward and get out of there, because Sydney is well and truly flooded the midfield. Another foul is given for Sydney just near halfway after a little tangle of ankles.
And I guess we could touch on that. How good has Lauren Barnes been this season? She's been a very consistent centre-back for us.
She's a fantastic player. She's been a little bit quieter this year, just based on the fact that the team's good enough that she doesn't have to be as all-action as she has been previously.
We had her on SEN, and she was discussing the chance of becoming an Australian citizen and what that means for her future coming back down here to Melbourne, because it's where she says she loves it and where she wants to keep playing. So that's a fantastic sign for the club going forward, that there's a person looking at citizenship options to even keep coming down here. So I love Lauren, and I think she's can deliver for us.
And it's one of those interesting things because the men's are obviously able to get citizenship based off playing for 5 seasons and then applying. It's a different situation with the women's because they're only here for half a year. So good on her for looking into these sort of things. It's certainly going to add a little bit of extra depth to our side if she is not counted as a visa player. And I guess the other question, I'm not 100% sure of this, you might know it a bit better than me, but has she played for the US women's national team before?
Not in an official game, so we believe she could potentially change allegiances as well. Unfortunately for Lauren, she's coming into the most stacked position on the field for the Matildas, but I think she would be able to push for a position provided the FIFA eligibility rules are the same. So we believe she should be available, as we see Kaya Simon coming off and youngster Ali Watt coming on for the final 5 or so minutes of the 90. Good chance for Ali to make her mark and hopefully score another goal or two like she did the other week in the final game of the season against Brisbane, and hopefully she's a little bit more prepared to score this time and doesn't look so surprised.
That celebration was just the most wholesome content I think I've seen for such a long time. Just the pure excitement and pure joy on her face scoring a professional goal. It was just excellent to see. We love her here and hopefully she comes back in seasons future.
Yeah, agreed. We're seeing Sydney here piling on the pressure, and this is going to be a nerve-wracking 5 to 10 minutes for our girls to try and get through this. The only thing that Sydney has done, or foot that they've put wrong, I'll get it out there one day, all day has probably been Bledisloe's effort on Catley's shot, but even then it was a pretty hard save to make. So they've put in a wonderful account for themselves, Sydney, and they've shown that they're certainly not easy beats even against such a strong side that is City.
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, look, we only played them once in the season. That in and of itself was a very difficult game. We got 2-0 up reasonably early with 2 Mili Mijatovic goals, and we're seeing the ball played long by Rebecca Stott to Ali Watt, who's using her pace to get in behind. It's now a 1-on-2 effort. Has a shot, Bledisloe down low to cover it.
And that's what we want to see from players like Ali Watt, taking on their player and trying to get around them and make that shot happen to do the best they can to win this game for our team.
Absolutely. Starting to head towards squeaky bum time. 4 minutes left of regular time, and then it'll be interesting to see how much additional time is added on at the end of this. We usually see an average of 4 minutes on most A-League games, irrespective of what goes on. We haven't seen too many fouls. Clearly that one is. We've only seen 1 yellow card. There's been no goals in the second half. There was that collision with Kaya Simon in the midway portion of it, so that might add a little bit of time on. But how long do you reckon the added time clock will go for?
By rights, 2 minutes, but due to the fact the way we seem to do things here in this country, I'd expect 4. I think we'll see Sydney have every chance to score, and we'll see a long, or what feels like a long stoppage time period.
I think it's one of those things where we're certainly going to get a lot of chances on the counter-attack now, but as much as we're trying to play the ball out calmly, I think probably a lot of our chances are going to come from streaming forward while Sydney's a long way pressed up, as we see trying to play a counter-attack to Ali Watt, but the ball just doesn't come off. And I think we'll probably get 1 or 2 more chances like that. We'll play a very calm, composed game, but it's just a matter of not letting Sydney have any shots on goal now.
Well done, Ali. That's a nice physical challenge, and she's been allowed to play on. We see Carpenter trying to stream forward, but she's been held up well by the Sydney defence. See Lulick playing it into the middle, into Van Egmond, who plays it back to Barnes, who now plays it out to Catley, who's coming up the left wing. She's looking to get past her player, but no one's moving in front of her, so she's going to have to go back just to control the ball Now Barnes hasn't really got many options, and Lydia's the only 100% ball that you can play here.
And you've just got to wonder how much the inability to train together as well as you would have previously will play an effect in these last.
Forward, the ball's back in the attacking 18-yard box for them, but Carpenter comes in and mops it up.
Excellent work there by Soddy.
There outside at about 30 yards away from goal. It was a sloppy turnover from City, and something that they'll need to make sure doesn't keep happening in this final few minutes to make sure that this championship comes home.
As we see a long ball played forward to...
You keep going, Lockie. You got this.
Long ball played forward to Claire Emsley with Alana Kennedy covering and playing it back to their centre-back. We're winning a lot of headers. We're winning a lot of the challenges. It's just a matter now of trying to get on and get a chance of our own to really kind of end this game. As we see Steph on the left wing really should be looking at playing that forward to Millie Mijatovic. But again, with some football intelligence that I clearly do not have, letting the ball run out and winding some more time off the clock as we go into the 89th minute of the game. So another thing...
We'll soon see what the board has to offer on stoppage time. Hopefully none would be ideal and get to 90 and call it and we're done and celebrate. But I don't think we're going to get that luxury for this game. The girls are going to have to keep fighting for another few minutes or so to wrap this one up.
Absolutely. And we see Millie Mijatovic turning the ball. Teresa Polias takes over, plays the ball out. Ali Watt, again, pressing really high. She hasn't had a huge amount to do in the attacking sense in this half because of the fact that we're playing defensively. But Carpenter gets in behind Ali Watt, keeping herself on sign. But again, Alana Kennedy stepping over and doing someone else's job for them, not really giving us the chance to play that ball out wide. As the clock ticks over to 90 minutes, and we're just simply waiting now on the assistant referee's board to go up to tell us how long the added time is, Claire Emsley, and it's 4 minutes. Unsurprisingly, the league has found 4 minutes where they did not exist.
So you can see there, Ellie, when she was streaming, Ford was not thinking of goals. She was thinking of the corner, and that's where she wanted to go to kill as much time as she could. We're now looking towards 4 minutes of tough, tight football. Millie Mijatovic isn't giving up on that ball yet, but Sydney defender is definitely the favourite. Oh, it's hit Millie. Has that gone in? Oh, wow.
That has just gone wide. That would have absolutely ended the game right there.
So for those of you who don't have any vision, Bledisloe has played it straight into Millie's trailing leg, and it has just missed the outside post. So very, very close to taking it over. The possession stats for you, Paddy, is 62% to City. So we haven't got above 70. We're on 62%.
And Amos Kaljuk saying, come on, City, you got this. We agree. We want City to absolutely end this. As a ball is played in behind, Millie Mijatovic is now one-on-one. Just unfortunately can't get that control on the ball. And, with Sydney pressing up, no one really dropping back to defend. Probably should have had a better opportunity than that as Steph Catley clears the ball out for a Sydney FC throw-in.
So here we're in the 92nd minute. Still 2 more minutes to go in this game. Still enough time for a goal from either side here. Looking now, Kennedy's got it, and she's going to have to start stepping up the field to try and make every possession count. I don't think we'll see many people in the defensive half for Sydney. There's a tangle going on behind play there with Ali dragging down a player. Can't make out the Sydney FC player's number, but the ref has seen it and waved on an advantage. A bit of an interesting connection, but looks like it's been allowed to play on for now.
Steph Catley doing some excellent defensive work. And now we see Claire Emsley one-on-one with the centre-back. No one else supporting her at this stage, so she slows the ball down.
Claire's
Ivy
a smart
Lewick.
footballer. She's going to try and waste as much time as she can here and play 100% safe football. Look for the switch now from Van Egmond, and she plays back to Williams instead, which is another fantastic move.
90 seconds left in this game. Ali Watt with a header hit from behind by Alana Kennedy. Probably should have been a foul. Referee, again, forgetting that she did have that whistle in her locker. Ellie Carpenter with an
Don't mind that one being played on it. It's good to see a little bit of physicality being allowed to be shown, especially when the challenge is a fair one. Surely it's time for a time-wasting sub. Just take a good 20 seconds off the game because we've still got one sub left, don't we?
Yes, we do still have one sub left. We could bring on TJ Vlanich as we see Emily Van Egmond with an excellent amount of effort, and we see her now streaming forward. Ball probably should have been played out wide there by Melanie Mijatovic, but Lydia Williams with some excellent gamesmanship, staying down, holding onto the ball, and is going to take a couple of seconds off the clock, telling everyone to go long, and you would expect maybe if we're playing this ball long, we're going to try to get it out for touch as Steph Catley's family shows up on the screen there to be able to make that time-wasting sub, but the ball just doesn't want to seem to go off the pitch.
So we see here the ball's gone to Lulick, who's tried to bounce it straight away for Emsley, and that's a fantastic... for Millie Mijatovic, and that's a fantastic ball. Mijatovic was able to get it back to Emsley, who couldn't beat her player, and now we see Sydney trying to bounce back for the last 30 seconds of this game. They desperately need to get it forward, and City just need to get some clean possession, and we see here Mijatovic putting a foot over the ball with a wonderful turn and going one-on-one, and now two-on-one, and surely winning the foul. Bit of advantage given, and Emsley cuts in.
94th minute.
To the corner now. This should be enough to see the result secured.
There it is. Championship for the 4th time. Melbourne City Women's. What absolute unbridled legends. Fantastic work. A lot of excellent game control there by the girls, but sensational for us to win the championship for our 4th time in history, making us the most successful W League side of all time.
And that's now 4 out of 5 possible trophies for this. Grand final wins for these girls. It's the 3rd time we've played Sydney in a grand final, and it's the 3rd time we've been able to beat them. That's a huge result for our girls, and you can see what it means to them to be W League champions again. A lot of this squad has worked hard to earn a spot into this team, and wow, what a team it is.
Just sensational. And you see the comments on Twitter streaming in. Scott Jamison, amazing effort, well done girls, fantastic work. And we've seen this entire final series. Our Twitter account has had this hashtag full history, saying that we know how important this is. We know how historic it would be for us to win this championship, and it's fantastic that we've been able to go on and do it. It wasn't easy. It certainly wasn't the most pretty match we've ever played, but absolutely sensational by the girls. That was a fantastic effort. And let's talk about for a second one of the saviours of the side there, who may potentially be best on ground, but Lydia Williams with 2 one-on-one saves to keep us in the game.
Yeah, I think she shows that she just continues to show her class, really, Lydia. She's always stepping up when the team needs it, and this season's been a particularly good one for her, especially after the last couple where she's had a few dips in forms at different times. But, you know, you can see this year how much it means to her and how much work she's put in to make sure that she's the difference when it's needed, and today she's come up huge for her side. Absolutely.
And comment on Twitter, the championship trophy just needed a holiday. It'll be back next year, is what Bentleigh wrote on Twitter on February the 18th of 2019, and retweeting herself a year later saying, "What did I say?" And absolutely, Belle, you are completely right. The championship belongs to us. We are by far the best team that this league has ever seen, and it's sensational for our girls to get the plaudits that they absolutely deserve.
And a big shout out to the players who didn't make the squad. You've got Chelsea Blissett and Nia. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I know I'll stuff it, but they've played a part this season, and Chelsea's played a few games where she's come off the bench. So important contributions that shouldn't be forgotten. Everyone in the squad has done their role to get this team to peak when it needs to. A massive one for Riley Dobson. She's been here for what feels like forever. She's been a part of the furniture, and I'm very, very happy to see someone like her get the success that they deserve. This squad is next level, and it's fantastic to see what they've been able to achieve.
Absolutely. Players like TJ Vlanich, Nia Stamatopoulos, Sophia Sakalis, who unfortunately got an ACL injury this year, would have been an excellent chance for her to get a little bit of time in the midfield and relieve some of our players. TJ Vlanich, who started out as a winger for us and is now sort of filling in as a defender, centre-back, right-back, wherever necessary. She's had an excellent season, and, at only 29, coming into 30, she's still got a couple of years of play ahead of her. Chelsea Blissett, we've seen her play in place of Steph Catley when she's been injured or unavailable in the squad a couple of times, and she's performed admirably. She's still very, very young. She's only turning 20 this year, so she's got all of her best years ahead of her, and hopefully she goes on to get some more minutes in the Melbourne City side. So excellent work by all of our women. It's been a fantastic season by them to, again, go undefeated for the second time in our history. You know, this is now for 13 wins straight in this one. We drew the first round of the season and otherwise won every game after that. So it's sensational, absolutely fantastic effort from our girls.
Second time we've been able to achieve that as a club as well. So the second season we've gone through undefeated. What a fantastic achievement. I think let's cut this stream now. Like, you know, let's let everyone go and join in the celebrations live via your ABC or your Fox broadcast, and let's hear from the girls and watch the trophy presentation live.
Absolutely, and thanks again to everyone who's been listening to the stream, joining in the chat. We're going to look at hopefully being able to do another stream on Monday for the Melbourne City men's match against Newcastle Jets. So if you've been listening, commenting, thank you very much. Feel free to subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Again, fantastic that we're the champions, and now let's sit back and enjoy the celebrations.
Love you, Scotty, Munn. Let's make sure, if you've got any feedback, please do feel free to hit us up. We do want to improve this as best we can for you guys, because that's what it is about. We're trying to do it for you and be as good as we can. So we'll let it go and we'll join in the celebrations. Awesome work, everyone. And hopefully see you back tomorrow for the Newcastle, on Monday for the Newcastle game.
Thanks very much, guys.